Now back to Morningline. Here's Steve Helms.
And welcome back, folks, and thank you for joining us on this Friday, May 27th. And with us today, we have Dr. Monine Jones and Jeffrey Maddox, and they're going to be talking with us about the beekeeping course that is with the Missouri Extension, and I'm really excited. I don't think I'm going to have time this year, but it definitely, or this month, but I definitely think it's a great program. So welcome, Dr. Jones and Jeff. Tell us a little bit about yourself real quick and the program.
Well, I'm Dr. Monine Jones, or how the locals call me Dr. Mo. And the program started, or a little bit about myself. I'm a research entomologist at the University of Missouri down in the Boot Hill. And I do research with row crops and, ironically, also bees. So we do honeybee research at our apiary center.
Well, that's a little variety there.
Yes, it is.
Now, you wrote the program or the course curriculum?
Yes, and I'll tell you a little bit how the honeybee came about. Like I said, I started out as a row crop entomologist, and what that is controlling pests and row crops. And then we started the Missouri Pollinator Conservancy Program to help people understand that to protect honeybees from drift. So the next step up was to start studying honeybees with chemicals and such, and that's what we're studying now. We're looking for higher tolerance to neonics and other pesticides. So we're trying to help the honeybees by looking for stronger strains.
Right.
And the idea for the program was started last July because we realized that there were a lot of new individuals coming into beekeeping. And the first year, everything was great. But then after the second year, they started dropping out, and we weren't having a retention of beekeepers in the state of Missouri. Even though in the late 1800s, Missouri was number 4 in the country for beekeeping. So what we're trying to do is to have that retention once again by offering college-level education, but parsing it out in an easy, affordable format for beekeepers in the state of Missouri.
Thank you. Jeffrey Maddox, let's bring you in, sir. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and I believe you are the one that will be actually giving the course.
Yes, I am a professional beekeeper in Springfield, Missouri, and Dr. Jones contacted us about finding experienced beekeepers in the region to help teach the courses, so I'm volunteering to help people get into beekeeping and get started.
Now, when is the first course going to take place?
It's July 16th, correct, Mo?
Yes. Yes.
And where will that be held at? Do you have a location yet?
That's at the Greene County Extension Center, and it's actually at the. You can contact them by looking at the website for the Greene County Extension, or you can call them at 417-881-8909.
And we will put a link to that on our KWTO News Talk Facebook page, so any of our listeners can go there.
I'll try to answer some questions about the program. There are 6 levels. They are the beginner, apprentice, journeyman, junior master, master trainer, and master beekeeper. And takes approximately, if you're a newbie, 5 years to be certified. Experienced beekeepers with 3+ years experience can test through the first 2 levels of the coursework. And how that's going to happen is this fall, we're going to have online testing. That's something new. That's something different. We are having their proctored exams so that the individuals can register and pay your exam fee, and you can go through the first 2 levels. Now, there are other states that have a master certification program, and I worked with Jamie Ellis of the University of Florida to develop this curriculum. And what makes ours different is threefold. One, we took the coursework that they usually teach in several days and require experienced beekeepers, and we parsed it into different courses so that people can learn as they go. Secondly, we developed this program that we set up mentors with the individuals that are coming in as inexperienced beekeepers. So we keep track of them as the inexperienced beekeepers accrue volunteer hours as being shadowed under an experienced beekeepers, whereas experienced beekeepers earn volunteer hours as mentors. And this way we hope that it'll help more people be successful in the program. Third, we have the online testing, which we hope we will be able to test more individuals instead of everything being paper and pencil and charging $40 for paperwork per person, which we thought was overpriced. But we're trying to make things smoother, and there should be a fourth point, actually. We're actually using experienced beekeepers at the extension centers to teach the courses, which I think is fantastic because we have the resources here of all these experienced beekeepers in the state of Missouri, so they accrue volunteer hours if they want to go into the certification program, or they can be paid as independent contractors at $20 an hour. But we're keeping everything the same so that we're not paying someone extra. And as of right now, we have 6 locations for this program: Greene County, Reynolds, Boone County, Clay County is starting soon, and my county, Pemiscot. So we have a lot of locations, and we hope to have more next year as well.
Very good. We're going to take a quick break, but when we get back, Jeff, I've got a question for you because I think a lot of folks, maybe when they're thinking about, boy, would I like to keep bees? Maybe they garden or do some other things in their yard. But I would imagine that some folks are concerned about the hazard or, bees stinging them or someone else. Thank you for listening, and thank you for our guests today, Dr. Monique Jones and Jeffrey Maddox. We're talking about bees and the Missouri Master Beekeeping Program or Beekeeper Program. Sounds like a great program that many of you might want to avail yourselves to. Jeff, when we left, we talked about some of the aspects of the program. Tell us about how you would address the fear that some people would have about having a beehive in their yard. Springfield has allowed, I think, up to 2 hives in the urban areas. So yes. What would you say?
Actually, the Springfield ordinance went through 2 years ago, and out of all the people who showed up, we didn't have anybody with a concern about being stung. It passed almost unanimously. I remind people that bees are living creatures just like dogs and people. If you deal with dogs, you can get bit. If you deal with people, you can get stabbed and shot. It all depends on how you treat them. If you work with the bees, you can work with very minimal protective equipment. Some people do prefer to wear a full bee suit, ankles to top of their head. Some people just wear a simple veil. I work in shorts and a t-shirt. When you learn how to work with them, they're quite easy to work with, just like dogs and people.
Very good, and I guess that's maybe more of a fear factor is just the thought of being stung.
Well, people have an impression that bees want to sting you, and it's the last thing they want to do. You really have to provoke them to get them to sting you. So, because
isn't it the end of their life when they sting somebody?
It is for a honeybee, and the problem is that honeybees are confused with yellow jackets and wasps, who can sting multiple times and are much more aggressive. So they get mixed in with a bad crowd.
Yes. And well, it's no fun to get stung one time, and especially not multiple times. Tell us a little bit about why someone might want to have a hive in their yard.
People have been enjoying honeybees for hundreds of thousands of years for not only the honey but the pollination benefits. When bees pollinate a fruit, you get a bigger, fuller fruit, better fruit set. People want honeybees and beehives in their neighborhood because their gardens produce more fruit and better fruit when they're there.
And that's, again, definitely something that I've been wanting to look into. You know, you got to kind of take things step at a time. But I would love to have, even if my neighbor had a beehive, that would benefit all the gardens in the area.
Something surprising that most people don't realize is bees forage in a 2-mile radius from the hive. So it's not like you have to have bees on your property. Just anywhere nearby is perfectly sufficient.
From your experience, would you know of anybody that may not be a good fit to have a hive? I don't know, maybe ones with little kids, or maybe if they take the proper precautions. Would there be anything that, again, from your experience, that may not be a good fit, or is anybody a good fit?
There's really 2 categories that leap to mind. Usually the people who are allergic shouldn't keep bees, but allergic reactions generally happen in less than 1% of the population. So it's pretty rare, but we run into them. And honestly, beekeeping can be kind of a heavy hobby. So you need to be physically fit enough to lift a box that weighs 40 to 60 pounds. Other than that, people keep bees all over the place. They keep them with livestock, they keep them with children. They exist as part of the farm, just like your cows and your dogs and your horses.
Well, I think I know we would be far less, have a variety of vegetables, fruits, and out there if we didn't have the bees. Dr. Jones, you said you're doing some research on how to help the bees deal with some of the loss that they've had in the recent years.
Well, what we have currently at our center, 2 things that we're doing research right now. We're looking at the tolerance to neonics with 3 strains of honeybees to see if there are any innate differences. And a large study that we are starting this year, paid for by a USDA grant, is we're looking at pesticide residue and hive components such as beeswax, honey, honeybees themselves, and pollen. So I put the shout out on the Missouri Beekeepers Facebook page, and I got a minimum of 60 volunteers. And if anybody is interested in having their hive components tested free of charge 4 times this year and more next year, they can contact me at my email address, jonesmon@missouri.edu. And we are compiling that list, and we're also looking for additional grant money to continue that work for the state of Missouri. So another reason why I'm doing this research, like I said, I'm a row crop entomologist, is you mentioned that the benefits of having honeybees in urban areas. There have been studies in Brazil and other countries where you can have a 40% increase in soybean yield by having honeybees near the crop. There is a study going on right now in Idaho, a large field study, and we're trying to bring that to the attention of row crop growers that you can benefit by having bees nearby and everybody working together. So.
Now, not everyone may be excited about or have the time or capability to have bees, but they like the idea of bees and understand their value. What would be some things that folks could do to encourage
Well, one
bees?
thing, they can donate to our program. We have a direct gift site from the University of Missouri, and that's at the mopollinatorconservancy.com website. There's a link to that. And here's the reason why that was started. when I started looking for bee research and money for funding for this, it is so few and far between for me to get funding. It's just unbelievable. And the funding that they provide is so few that's why with this program that's starting here, all the money that's brought into my program goes to bee research and to help fund it, because I'm not going to give up doing research with honeybees just because it's difficulty finding funding. But again, like I said, we have a direct gift site for donations, and that really helps because funding within the last year has become really tight with research. And how we get our funding is through grants and direct gifts, and that's how we do the research.
And Jeff, what would you suggest to folks that want to encourage bees in their neighborhood or their area but can't necessarily get a beehive in their, for themselves?
Sure. From a practical level, planting something for the bees, and that can be anything from a simple window box with herbs in it to a bigger garden outside, something that the bees can feed on. Taking some part of your lawn that is a pain in the butt to mow and turning it into a flower garden, something for the bees to feed on, is probably the easiest and most practical thing most people can do for honeybees.
Very good. We just have a couple minutes left, Jeff. Any last thoughts you might leave with our audience as to the course and things you might want to tell them?
Well, I hope that a beginning beekeeper would take the time to, I know there's only 6 locations right now, but to participate in the classes, because this material is from the other master beekeeping program, and they're at no obligation to go all the way through the program. You can be certified at an apprentice or a journeyman, and each piece of education that you gain will help yourself as well as the honeybees, because the more educated individual that we have, the better chance that we have for honeybee populations to survive and to just grow and prosper. So,
very good. And Jeff?
I would say something along the same lines. The better educated you are about beekeeping, the better your bee survival. A lot of people end up stopping because they don't get any training, they don't go to any courses, and their bees die and they get demotivated. It's not hard to keep honeybees unless you've never done it before. So we have a lot of experienced beekeepers and a lot of bee clubs around the state who are more than happy to help you learn how to keep these things happy and healthy and benefiting everybody.
Very good. Well, Dr. Moning-Jones, we thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. And Jeff, thank you, sir. Jeff Maddox, a local beekeeper. We thank you, sir.
Always a pleasure to be here.
And I think this is a great program, and hopefully as things progress, we could probably have you back on. I think bees are pretty important to vineyards and many other crops in the country. So thank you again, folks. Go to the Facebook and get a link to the Master Beekeeper program for the Missouri Extension, and we'll be right back after these messages.